Everything with Kathy B. Giving you the latest with local and national news. From politics, sports, and religious views. To advertise with Kathy B, go to Kathy B at SourceRadioNetwork.com or Facebook, Kathy B Source Radio Network. Now here's your host, Kathy B.
Good evening, Source Nation, and welcome to Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about 2 hours and 45 minutes before we lose the live feed. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. We have a dynamic show tonight, but before I get started, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors because we would not be here without them, and they are Blog Talk Radio, Scott Cares Foundation, Red Pill Lifestyle Management and Consulting, Urban Grandstand Digital, Cat Photography, Hitmasters, New Covenant Appraised Worship Center, and PS Photography. Guys, I tell you, this is going to be an exciting 2016. Before I tell you what goes on tonight, I want to just say thank you so much for being a part of the Source Nation family. You guys have rocked it out the last 2.5 years, and I know going into this year, we're going to have some great fun. You know, we have made a lot of changes here at Source Radio Network. Thank you so much for sending us over emails and hitting us up on Facebook and Twitter. So thank you, thank you. You know, Love Zone Mondays is a new look. That's right, ladies. We have a wonderful and dynamic man in the studio in our second hour. You all have heard him here several times. I'm speaking of Dr. D. Yvonne Young. That's right. He is here with us. He is part of the Source Nation family, and we're going to have some great fun. So stay tuned because I'm telling you, new programming coming up, and we have new and exciting hosts coming to the Source Nation family and giving you guys some great and dynamic content. So let's get into tonight's show. Well, up first, I have two dynamic people coming into the studio. Me as a husband and wife duo. I'm speaking of the Ma'at. They're coming in tonight, and our conversation is going to be about vulnerability. You know, over the holiday break, I had the opportunity really to look at some articles that spoke in this area. So they're coming in. They are relationship coaches. And, you know, they have been teaching premarital counseling and relationship education classes. So 6:15, hear the Ma'at speak to us on vulnerability. And then, of course, in the 7:15 hour, my dynamic host, Dr. D. Yvonne Young, is coming in, and we're going to in the area of vulnerability. Our conversation is all about taking the necessary steps towards success while we embrace vulnerability in our marriages and relationships. You definitely don't want to miss that. And then, of course, in the 8 o'clock hour, we have Parents and Teens Talk with Shavonna Johnson, and she is speaking with author Joyce Reed. You guys, we have a jam-packed show tonight. You definitely don't want to miss this. Welcome to Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, the y'all are in the studio with me. We'll be right back.
We'll be back, Source Radio Network, after this commercial break.
Source Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
And tired of waking up next to these women, that I hardly know, without plans nor room to grow. It's the same old, same old. It's got me looking for something new, someone to believe in. Good God, my heart hopes that someone is you. They say love is a supreme feeling, it's trust is the fact and healing. Yeah. Oh yes, success means we're winning, my darling. Love, 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 yeah. Success, I want to be. I want love, 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 love and success. Yeah, 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 yeah. Walk for me. It's crucial, so crucial for you to know. She really digging you enough to build a life with, only digging your financials. But when it happens, in her love for you, genuine. That woman's color doesn't matter, as long as you care for what's within. They say love is a supreme feeling. It's the fact and healing. Oh yes, success means we're winning, my darling. Love and success. Yeah, yeah. I want to be. I want love, 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 love. Walk for me. There comes a time, boys and men need to realize that there's so much more to life. Oh, wanna make some love. Feel so good you can say a word. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Make love till the morning. Oh, yeah. Watch the sunrise and hear the birds. Oh, yeah. Hey, just wanna see you smile for a little while, my baby. Nothing between us is crazy. And I know you're my special lady and so sexy. Why don't you come over here and let me set you free? Relax and unwind like N-O-E-L-E. Your mind, no worries, yeah. I love making love to you. I love making love. All that I wanna do. You make me say, ooh, and you're beautiful. I love making love to you. I love making love. All that I wanna do. And you're beautiful. You're beautiful. Oh, baby girl, saying my name. You know I love that game. Kiss you from head to toe. Baby, just go with the flow. No way, I'll let you go, lady. You're mine for sure. And what you're waiting for, someone you can't ignore. Oh, it's so good, make you shed a tear. Legs wrapped in a minute in. Me and you, it's a win-win. So high, I wanna do it again. Your love is so divine. I'm feeling you, and when there's nothing else to say or do, I'll sing a song to you. I love making love to you. I love making love to you. Oh, make me sing. Oh, I love making love to you. I love you, baby. I love you, baby. Make me say, ooh, hey, hey, on my When I'm with you, I'm so happy. I forget what's around me. You have my heart, and you had me from the start. That's why it sets us apart, and I love making love to you. It's all that I wanna do. That is all that I wanna do. And you're beautiful, so I love making love to you. I love it, baby. It's all that I wanna do. Oh, make me say, ooh, oh, baby, yeah. I love making love to you. Beautiful, it's all that I wanna do. All I want, baby. All I need is my life. Making love to you. You make me happy. Oh, so happy, baby. Yeah. I love making love to you. It's all that I wanna do. Make me say, ooh, and you're beautiful. I love making love to you. I said I love you. Make me say, and you're beautiful. I love making love to you. It's all that I wanna do. Oh, baby. Make me say, ooh, and you're beautiful to me.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Love Zone Mondays with Kathy B.
And welcome back, Source Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about 2 hours and 44 minutes before we leave. We are now into our first hour of the show, and I'm so excited because I have a beautiful and dynamic couple in the studio with me. But before I bring them in, I'm going to share just a little bit about them. I am speaking of the Ma'at. You know, they're coming in, and they're going to speak with us tonight in regards of vulnerability. You know, they are the co-founders of Be International LLC, a multifaceted relationship development business that focuses on life, relationship, and coaching sessions, premarital counseling, and relationship education classes. They're coming in and they're going to talk to us about this very important subject. You know, I had the opportunity, as I said when I opened up the show, to really begin to speak a lot about area in our relationship and marriages. And, you know, to become vulnerable in your relationship, sometimes it is seen as something hard to do, but really it isn't. And I'm excited to have these two lovely people in the studio with me. I believe the Ma'at are in the studio now. Hi, guys. How are you? And welcome to Love Zone Mondays.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're so happy to be here. Again, thanks for having us.
And Happy New Year.
You're welcome. Happy New Year to you as well. You know, I'm enjoying the conversation tonight, the topic, which is about vulnerability. But before we jump into that, if you will, of course, you know, I didn't give you bio justice, and I tell you why. We've had the opportunity really to begin to share you with Source Nation and everyone that listens to Love Zone Monday. If you will, please, if you take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself, we'll jump into the conversation from there.
Okay, great. Sure, no problem. So my name again is Iana Ma'at, and I work in our business with my husband and partner, Ayize Ma'at, and we're both therapists and relationship coaches and have done a lot of work with couples primarily and done family work, really helping people to restore relationships and to go to the next level in their own relationships, their intimate relationships. So again, our work has been around counseling and coaching. We've done some speaking and do a lot of creative productions that really, really bring a good awareness and light to couple dynamics and the issues that go on in relationships. And we also have an online presence where we have nice videos on YouTube, as well as a website that has a lot of good resources and information about how to really keep your relationship in a place where it's divorce-proof and you can really be growing and going to the next level. So that's essentially who we are, what we do in a nutshell, and we enjoy it tremendously because you can't do this type of work and not have to look at yourself in the mirror and check yourself at the same time. So we're constantly making sure that we have to challenge ourselves with not just talking the talk but walking the walk as well.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing the information with us. Of course, you know, tonight's conversation is all about vulnerability. And the fact is that a lot of us have difficulty when it comes to being vulnerable in our relationships. Let's start with the number one area. And I think when we look at vulnerability, we need to really stress that communication should be number one. And with communication, you need to be very effective with it. Talk to us about that and what your thoughts are.
Sure. So when it comes to communication and relationships, what we've seen is that people have really struggled around this area of vulnerability because it really requires them to take a risk and expose themselves, really put their guards down and jump into the relationship or just be in a relationship fully present. So when it comes to communicating effectively in a relationship, we have to recognize that we're all coming into relationships with baggage. You know, we're coming with preconceived notions, we're coming with beliefs, we're coming with just a whole bunch of stuff that Mama and them gave us when we were youth. So with that being said, as we attempt to mature in our relationships, we go through a process of unfolding, if we're doing it correctly, where we consciously and even sometimes unconsciously make a decision to step closer and become more connected with the person that we say we love. But it's absolutely impossible to achieve that level of intimacy where you're extremely close and extremely connected unless you're willing to become and to be vulnerable in a relationship. And so communication definitely helps to facilitate that. And I'm not just speaking about what you're saying verbally, but, you know, those nonverbal cues and how you're communicating through those definitely impact the level of intimacy and your partner's willingness to be vulnerable with you. You know, if I come in the house and my wife is giving me the stank eye, then that right there is going to have an impact on me and, you know, not allow me or give me permission to be vulnerable and be willing to put my guards down and take a risk with her. But if her nonverbal cues are those that are inviting, loving, and she's receptive toward me and whatever I got going on, then I'm more inclined to expose myself and truly get naked with her in an emotional sense so that she can see who I am, how I'm feeling, how my day was, and where I'm trying to go in this relationship. So you need to be present both, with the verbal and nonverbal cues in terms of communication if you expect to achieve any level of intimacy and vulnerability in the relationship.
I love that. I love that, Aize. The fact that you said that. Now, let's go into the area of just really, like you said in your bio, keep it real, keep it 100. When we look at vulnerability, we have to understand that you got to face reality, meaning you have to put the real facts on the table. Feel free to really discuss all parts of you and what it is that you're thinking. A lot of people have a difficult time in doing that. Talk to us about that, feeling free in your relationship and really revealing the true facts about yourself.
Sure. I think what comes to mind for me, oftentimes in working with folks, what I've discovered, and both my husband and I have discovered, and even looking at our own relationship, folks want to be intimate. They want to have this level of closeness that, when we go to the movies and, we look at these wonderful fairy tales and read books, we think, oh, wow, he totally gets her and she's been made for him and they're soulmates and everything is just so wonderful. And people wonder, is that possible? Is there any part of that that's possible? Even if I know that, that kind of perfection is not really possible in love, is there some piece of that that's possible? And people are really wanting that. But what I have found is that people would rather be safe than satisfied. And right. So when it gets to the place where, okay, what is required for me to have that? That means that I have to share something that makes me feel incredibly exposed, even if they're not having that conscious, but I just feel really out there. Or it's really outside of my comfort zone. I've never talked to anybody like this. I don't even spend time with myself thinking about why I am the way I am on this particular issue. So for me to spend time with someone that I love sharing that is radical and revolutionary. I can't do it. So I'd rather be safe than be satisfied. And a lot of times what we focus on people is, you can live a life of safety and you can even have a partner and you all both, stretch just as far as you're willing to stretch, but you both have these lines that you operate behind where you are more committed to your own protection and your own agenda than you are to the ultimate edification and growth of your relationship. And so you have these crossroads opportunities, and this is what we usually tell folks, where you know that you're holding back. You know that your body feels stiff. You know that there's thoughts that's going through your mind that you're just not going to share, or you're going to choose to walk out of the room instead of stay in the moment. And you can, at those crossroads opportunities, you can make a choice to do something very different. And usually the choice requires that you do something that's opposite of what you would naturally do. And that will pull you towards vulnerability. And in order to be intimate, you have to be vulnerable. There's no intimacy that occurs without vulnerability. And so I think really what folks have to understand is that it's not this fairy tale kind of notion of, they're soulmates and they just feel so free with one another. It takes practice. Everything in relationships and in life takes practice. So when we first start practicing something, it feels very unnatural. It actually doesn't give us any good, yummy feelings. It makes us feel scared. It may even make us feel angry. But as we practice and as we do it more and more, we start to get good at it, and then the results start to come where we actually see some outcomes in our relationship that look like, oh, wow, now that feels really good because I was able to trust that, he would listen to me or that he would be there for me the way I needed because you've already practiced it a few times. So I think folks just have to understand that, like anything, it takes work, it takes practice, and it's not going to be all rosy and yummy from the beginning. It just don't work like that.
Right. And I love what you just said, Iyanna, practicing. with your mate in regards to this area. And, you know, I'm glad that you said that, because this weekend I actually posed a question in one of my groups, one of my single groups, and we talked about, you know, becoming vulnerable in the relationship and how important is it for you to be. And some of the young men in the group were saying to me, you know, I'm not gonna look like a punk. I'm not gonna put all my information out on the table, knowing that she is not going to do the same. I said, well, in a relationship, especially if you're looking for longevity, and here on this platform, we stress that we strive for longevity and success, and I'm going to continue to say this. When you look at the dynamics of the African-American household, and you wonder why the numbers are as high as they are, is because there are a couple of things that we're lacking. We're lacking the fact that we're unable to communicate efficiently and effectively with one another. And also, too, I think that we lack the area of really understanding how to become vulnerable and how to really begin to talk about your dreams, your passions, your fears, and be able to work together. So I want to stay where you are, because you said a word that I really believe in, and this is what I said in the group. You have to begin to trust one another. Trust each other enough to where, if you feel as though you're talking about everything in your life, or as people say, I'm telling all my business, then that will be a thought put to the side. Because when you trust each other, then you won't feel as though your business is being put out there. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of trust being an essential component of vulnerability, of establishing or achieving true intimacy in a relationship. It's kind of akin to me, you know, if you can imagine, we've all done like Easter egg hunts, and you know, you may run across the field carrying an egg on a spoon. And so, you know, when you're in a relationship, there's a certain element of delicacy, or a certain amount of delicacy that's required when it comes to nurturing and taking care of your partner's heart. And so just imagine your partner's heart being that egg. Are you going to tend to it with care? Are you going to be gentle with it? Are you going to make sure that you're taking care of it and you're protecting it, and that you're very mindful about what you expose it to, whether it be from you or from people from the outside? And so if that egg or that person's heart feels as though they can trust you, then to some degree you've given them permission to be able to begin to open up and be vulnerable with you. And so even when I look at my relationship with my wife, we've been together for over 20 years, and we've been married for going on 14 now. And, you know, it's been a process in our relationship, because it would be foolish, and I repeat that, it would be absolutely foolish for you to jump into a relationship or enter into a relationship completely trusting your partner, because you're exposing yourself unnecessarily, and truth be told, you don't know this person. So it's a graduated process that takes place for you to actually get to a place of arriving at, like, complete intimacy. And it doesn't happen in 1 year, 5 years. It takes a while to achieve that complete intimacy and total connection. So you learn to trust over time. And I think that you have to be diligent and patient in your process of getting to know your partner, because truth be told, as you're getting to know your partner, you're also getting to know yourself. So if you can't be vulnerable with you, then how do you expect yourself? I mean, how can you expect to be vulnerable with somebody else?
Exactly. I love that. I love that. Because we also talked about, you know, being able to grow. I love the fact that you used your example about you and your wife, the fact that you all have been together for 20 years, and then that 20 years, 14 years of that are married years. And I think that with that being said, that is success. You're striving for success, and you have to have that. To me, and I guess because I've been divorced twice, I have no problem with saying that. But my second marriage, I call that my adult marriage, because I married when I was 22, and at the age of 22, you don't know nothing at 22. I don't care what nobody says. But my adult marriage was at the age of 30, and we were married for 8 years, and I thought that this marriage was going to be the one that was going to last, but unfortunately, it didn't. But what I will say, that marriage taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about who I am as a individual, who I am as a woman, and who I will be as someone's wife. And I think that the thing about it is that we all have made mistakes, but with that being said, are you able to say, I made a mistake and I'm going to learn from this and take it wherever I need to be? So you're growing, and I think when you say to yourself, I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to embrace whatever it is, then you're willing to grow. Talk to us about that, growing in vulnerability, growing in your relationship, and it being okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my wife, she wanted to share something about that.
I just what just popped up in my mind when I think about my trajectory. My husband and I got married young, and as I look back at our relationship and I look at myself and the things that I used to do and some of the things I still do and the ways I used to respond and whatnot, I was quite an insecure, very, what's the word I'm looking for? I just was a fragile young wife who did not have really a lot of confidence in who I was and was trying to figure out who I was, not only, as a young and new wife, but just as a young woman, trying to figure out who I was and what my purpose and role was here. And so I just remember all the time kind of ups and downs in our relationship, and my not really being in a place where I was being vulnerable at all. I would have my little moments of vulnerability, but literally, I was putting up walls left and right, walking around with walls I didn't even know existed. And I guess I'm saying all of this to say that if people don't hold on to the fact that in everything there's a process, and don't allow themselves to get through the muck and mire, then you never, ever get to experience the other side. And I talk about that a lot, that there is an other side to conflict, and there is an other side to communication and stress and drama and all of that. I had to, at many points in time, make room for my husband as he was a young man trying to figure out what it means to be a husband and to provide and do all of these things, and he had to make room for me. But if we had just thrown in the towel and, attacked one another and stayed dedicated to our agendas in our corners and never, ever took a moment to visit places of vulnerability, and even though we couldn't stay there, we didn't have the emotional capacity to stay in that spot as long as we should have, because we just weren't mature enough. But if we hadn't taken the opportunity to do it here and there, then I know for a fact that we wouldn't be where we are today. And so I think, what folks have to be able to see and understand is that if you're not experiencing that at all in your intimate relationships, and I have to say this, it's not just within our intimate relationships as husband, wife, or with a committed partner. I'm talking about any relationship. If you think about your mother, you think about your siblings or relatives or what have you, if there are no moments of intimacy where you share with that person, I really miss you, or that really meant a lot to me, or I know I have been distant, but I want you to know that I really care. If there's none of that ever, then there's nothing for the two people to rely on and to reference back to say, you know what, this is a worthwhile relationship. You know what, we've been struggling, but I remember that moment when we connected. And that is what I'm going to look to sustain me as we go through this difficult time. And so this whole piece you're talking about in terms of growing in vulnerability has to allow for the ups and downs, has to allow for the crazy moments and the moments of great distance and dissatisfaction, but also has to have spaces where you're touching in with one another so that the couple and individually and collectively have something to look at, to say, okay, we do have the ability to do it, and I do feel something, because I remember what she said last month. and how that made me feel, and so that's got to happen. That's got to happen. So I think it's a growth process, and realizing it can't all be good, but it also can't all be bad is really essential for people to understand in terms of understanding what it means to grow in vulnerability.
Good information. Sports Nation, we are speaking with the Ma'at tonight. Our conversation is all about vulnerability. Great information has been shared. Guys, I have a couple questions that have come into the studio. I want to go ahead and get to them, and should time allow, we'll get back into the conversation. The first question that has come into the studio is coming from our Facebook family, and it's all about being able to be stable. Do you all see vulnerability being a place of stability within a relationship? What are your thoughts about that? Is the relationship stable if vulnerability is there?
Absolutely. I think that the vulnerability actually allows the relationship to become more solid and more stable. As a whole, the more you grow in your vulnerability. Because this is what it does. Vulnerability exposes you to somebody's weaknesses, but it also exposes you to somebody's strengths. And so if you know a person through and through, then what ends up happening is that you know when and how you can depend on that person. So you all become interlocked and intertwined in terms of your connectedness, and as a result, the relationship becomes stronger. If either one of you makes a choice, unfortunately, to use that vulnerability against the partner, then it can be definitely devastating to the relationship and it can dismantle everything. But if you use that vulnerability as a source of strength and you look at it as an avenue for you all to just solidify the bond, then it definitely can reinforce the stability in a relationship. We've experienced that and in the couples that we've worked with, and we've also seen that as well. And it's not an easy thing, especially when it comes to dudes. We're less inclined to enter into that space of vulnerability. A lot of it's just based off of our upbringing and social conditioning. But once we do enter into that space of vulnerability, I have seen just in me working with men that it helps them to enhance their overall sense of self as they move closer to their spouse in the marriage.
Love that. Our next question that has come in is from a young lady in our Source Nation family, and she wants to talk about an incident that has taken place in her past. She says that she and her boyfriend have been together now 6 months. They have not been intimate, and she wants to, but she feels the need that she needs to tell him about something that has taken place in her past. How vulnerable should she be? What should she tell him?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, there's a couple of things that have to be really taken into consideration when we're thinking about, do we share with a partner, particularly a newer partner, someone who we're still learning and we're still learning, who's still learning about us. We got to really pause. And one of the things, I have to say this before, I get to that, is that one of the things that we find people tend to not do well is properly pace their relationships when it comes to, being with a new partner, and they are oversharing and not just oversharing their stories or intellectually or emotionally, but physically, all of that. So I think I'm glad to hear it's been 6 months and that she hasn't, done that, but she's feeling like she wants to get to that point. And so one of the things that I often tell folks is when you want to bring up something that is really, really kind of sacred to you, it's important to you, the person's response to you, would be very significant in terms of how much it impacts you and that kind of thing. Start out by simply just asking, the person, are they ready for that? And that might sound something like, I have something that I really want to share with you that was, perhaps you might use the word life-altering for me, life-changing, or really was a significant event in my past. And, I don't think I really, at this point, shared anything with you to that degree. And I just want to know, are you okay with that? Are you ready for that? I'm cool if you're not, because I want to make sure that that's something that you're even ready to hear from me about. And just putting that out there, even with that general question, sets the tone so the person knows, okay, you're setting this up because you're getting ready. You're not just dropping it on me. You're preparing me for something that is significant to you. And based on their response, they will either say, oh, wow, I'm just, I feel so honored that she's even going to, come to me like this. And if you want to share, absolutely, baby, come, let's talk. Or, maybe we should go out to eat. I'm coming over. Let's, how should we do this? Or there may be an awkward silence, or I don't know what you want to say to me, or I'm not sure. I'm not sure I really want to know. And all of that is information. My husband talked earlier about nonverbals. The verbals and the nonverbals, information for you as to whether or not they are ready, mature enough, able to hear what it is, just the general kind of thing that you want to share. And from there, you just, continue on the conversation. So I would say for her, I don't know the specifics and that kind of thing. I don't know more about, her who her partner is and, her and herself. But absolutely, ask the question. Can I share something with you that's pretty significant for me? And then go from there and believe what they tell you.
Mm-hmm. Good information. Our next question that has come in, I believe it's a statement. It says, vulnerability requires you to love harder. You're opening yourself up to judgment and ridicule. What are your thoughts about that particular statement?
That's absolutely true. You are opening yourself up for judgment and ridicule. But again, I think that I know for a fact it is or should be a gradual process in a relationship. And in doing so, your partner, again, should treat your vulnerability delicately. They give you permission to open up and to continue to expose yourself, and you should do likewise. So in exposing yourself to judgment and ridicule, it's a natural part of growth. You can't grow without exposing it to yourself to some type of judgment or some type of criticism. You got to be willing to take the risk. So the reward is definitely there tenfold. But again, you have to go through that process of opening up, which is a beautiful thing.
I just want to add to that. Every time I've heard, I'll hear Oprah, say on one of her shows, I've heard her say several times, love doesn't hurt. True, genuine love, it doesn't hurt. And you deserve to be in a relationship where you're not experiencing, all this pain and confusing that with love. And I understand that, and I get that when we are truly residing in love, love can't be present along with hate and all that kind of stuff. But we have to remember when we think about this whole thing of opening ourselves up to ridicule and that kind of thing and judgment, we're all human beings. So none of us are operating authentically 100% of the time in a space of love. We're operating in love. We're operating in ignorance. We're operating in shame. We're operating in, best intentions. We're operating in all kinds of things and places that come from, our past or what have you, our histories. And so we come oftentimes with the best that we have to give, but the best that we have to give is oftentimes not good enough. So we have to be conscious and cognizant of the fact that once I open myself up, yes, ridicule is a possibility. But it doesn't mean that, this ain't love and this isn't it because you're causing me pain. That is a part of the process of being a human being and being in a relationship, that you're going to be with someone who's not going to cause you yummy feelings all the time. And you're going to do the same thing for them. So we just really need to see that that's a part of the process and not shut down and reject it and say, I'm not dealing with this person. I'm not dealing with no relationships. I'm not dealing with men or women or whatever anymore because they hurt me. That's a part of the process. That's a part of the process on some level. So we have to be discerning when we think about that.
I love that because I think, out of all of what we discussed tonight, I think you have to be completely open. And when I say that, you have to be emotionally, mentally, as well as physically. And I love the fact that we talked about embracing this area of your life. I think that is so very important. Not only that, vulnerability in the end truly teaches us the comfort with uncertainty. You have to be comfortable with that, just as I said before. It is an area that people find it very difficult to do. And just as you said, you're not going to get it in one night. You're not going to get it in a year. It truly takes time. And the fact that you have to practice this is what's going to make it perfect. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're 100% correct with that. You know, you definitely have to practice, and it definitely takes time. You can't, achieve success necessarily in anything that's worth fighting for overnight. So it requires you to invest the time, the energy, the effort, and the willingness has to be there for you to really experience that intimacy that you're looking for. You know, it can't be done without vulnerability. Trust has to be present. And one thing that I want to also emphasize too is that, when we speak about vulnerability, a lot of it's about, sharing your most authentic self and taking a risk and speaking your mind. But I just want to be clear that telling it like it is ain't always necessarily the way to go. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a high emotional intelligence when you're just speaking what's on your mind. So when it comes to relationships, definitely, you want to open yourself up to be able to speak your piece, but you want to do it with an element of delicacy because you're tending to your partner's heart. So just saying what's on your mind, that's not necessarily being vulnerable, because to some degree you actually could be doing some type of self-serving or self-gratifying action by just blurting out your piece. You have to be mindful of what's going on with your partner, the circumstances, and just be very careful and diligent in how you tend to their heart when you speak your piece. But again, I think that authenticity is the way to go, but there's a certain technical or tactical way to approach it, and just saying what's on your mind isn't necessarily the most appropriate thing at all times.
I love that. So let me ask you, when you are counseling your couples or within your relationship coaching sessions, what are you finding when it comes to vulnerability? What are some of the things that you can share with us, if we are lacking in our relationship regarding this particular area? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, what we're finding most, and it's no big secret, but many of us, and I would dare to say nearly all of us, have trauma histories that we haven't necessarily come face to face with and really dealt with. And so when you're in a relationship, an intimate relationship with somebody, I mean, really it's a dance between two trauma histories. And so when you have two trauma histories interfacing, both of you are protecting yourselves because you're afraid to brush up against each other the wrong way and get hurt again. You don't want the wound to be opened up just one more time, so you're protecting yourself in a relationship. So whether it be the man or the woman in the relationship, what we've seen is that people are very guarded. People are very guarded and unwilling to take the risk because they were hurt 5 years ago, 10 years ago by a former relationship, whether it be with an intimate partner or whether it be with their mother or father. They're dealing with some deep-seated pain, and until they're able to actually confront that pain and deal with it, then they really negotiate and walk through the relationship very guarded and just protecting themselves. So we coach them through a process of entering into a space of safety and entering into a space of vulnerability, and just work with them around being transparent and also creating that safe space for their partner to be willing to open up and take the risk to expose themselves to them fully. But again, it's a journey. It's not an overnight process. It's a journey, but it's definitely well worth it if you're willing to let your guards down and take our hands and allow us to go on that journey with you.
Love that. I love that. As we are closing, I want to just talk a little bit more, if I can, in regards to vulnerability, maybe some steps that you have given your clients or you shared in some of your coaching sessions, if you could share that with us tonight.
Okay, sure. We chuckle because one of the things that we often hear from folks once we have done our initial assessment with people, we 9 times out of 10 will make sure that we schedule out some individual time with folks, or the suggestion in terms of the plan is that you do some individual work with my husband, and I will do some individual work with the other partner, and then we're going to go down this journey and then come back together. And so we chuckle because people say, geez, we thought we were doing couples work and we just came to get some tools. We came to get, a few tricks and a few tips, give me some steps of what to do. And thought it would be better. But you all are trying to take us down this road of looking at ourselves and having all these individual sessions, and I ain't really come to do all of that. And so I'm saying all of this because it's leading me to the first and foremost step that is really important for people to take, and people often underestimate it and push it away. And I know personally, because I know I have in my past, and I think I still do. I mean, we all do on some level, depending on what the issue is. But that is that we can get tips and tricks and tools and step 1, step 2, step 3. But if I'm not motivated to do it, if I am stuck in a place where it is very difficult for me to do the things that I have been told are helpful, or to stop doing things that I have been told are not helpful, then that means there is some internal work that I have to do. And the only way to be able to get to that place where I can do those things is to sit with myself, with a third party, whether it be a coach or a counselor, whether you get a good self-help book, whatever it is, and really pay attention to what's happening for me emotionally. Because most change doesn't happen because people get step 1, 2, 3. It happens because there is an emotional transcendence that happens. There's a release. You know, people talk about, for example, forgiveness and how forgiveness releases you to be able to take the steps you need to take to move forward in your relationship more effectively. And so now you can take those steps, but you couldn't do it before because there was an emotional block or barrier. And so I just really think it's important for people to understand that if there is something that you know that you really haven't resolved in your past, or if you don't know what it is, but you keep having the same issue, the same problems, and you're the common denominator, you don't have 3, 4, 5 relationships, if you keep having the same kinds of issues, then it would behoove you to really make sure that you get into some personal work. So that's step 1. And people go around it all the time. They don't want to do that. You can't change from the outside in. You got to do it from the inside out. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing I would like to say is that oftentimes when you're in a relationship, one partner is a little further along in terms of being willing to do some work with their partner, and the other person is not really feeling it, and that's common. What I would say is that the person who's willing and the person who has the insight and knows that we need to move forward and do some work has to stay committed to that. You have to keep it on the table. You have to not allow yourself to be influenced by the partner who continues to resist, and you can do that by going and starting the work on your own, and I've seen it happen time and time again. Eventually your partner will come with you, bringing it up over and over again, saying, hey, this is really important to me, but not just kind of taking a position of, well, he said he don't want to do it, so, and you find you hadn't brought it up in the last year. And so he don't even know that you're really for real about that thing because you hadn't brought it up for a year, but you're still walking around thinking we need to do this. We need to do something about what we're dealing with. You have to keep it on the table. You have to model for your partner what you want from them by being respectful, by being consistent and persistent with what it is you think is important. And then last but not least, very quickly, what I'll say is that, vulnerability and intimacy, by far, I think it is the number one critical component of any relationship. I cannot say it enough. You can have a whole bunch of stuff. You can have good communication, good credit, and finances, whatever, but people communicate on different levels. You can communicate well about how to parent the kids. You can communicate well about, what needs to happen over here in this arena and that arena, but emotional intimacy and true closeness, that's a different level. And the only way to get that and to say, hey, I realize we ain't really got that, it's to just acknowledge it and say, I want to spend some more time with you. I want us to be close. That's the first. That's something people can do when they get off the phone tonight from listening to this. They can say, I want to be closer to you. I want to be closer to you. 7 words. They can put it in an email, put it in a text message. They can say it. They can write it on a note and leave it on the counter and put a little heart there, and wait for that response. And somebody will come back and say, what did you mean by that? And right there, you have opened the door for intimacy because now you're sharing what you really want, and you all can take some steps, whether it be scheduling a date or sitting down and having a cup of coffee to explore what those 7 words mean to you. So take action. It's not all theory in our heads. Do something, and I think that would be another good step. Take action and get what you want.
Great information, guys. Thank you so much for coming in on tonight and sharing the area of vulnerability with the Source Nation family. As we are closing, we would love to get your information on how we can continue to support you in your efforts. If you'll share that with the Source Nation family, that would be great.
Sure. So on Facebook, you can find us at blackloveandmarriage.com. On Twitter, you can find us at Real Love Help. And you can also visit our website at reallovehelp.com. We can also be reached at 202-599-0234. But again, reallovehelp.com has all the information about us and our services and videos and advice columns and that kind of thing. So thanks again, Kirky, for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yes, I enjoyed it and definitely look forward to having you guys back here again real soon. Thank you once again.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Well, Source Nation, you heard it right there from Aize and Yana Mahat. Tonight's conversation was all about vulnerability. I love the fact that she stated 7 words, I want to be closer to you. It's how you really begin to open up the door when it comes to vulnerability. You know, we discussed several things tonight in the conversation, and one thing that I'm going to take away, and I will always say, you know, in order for us to really begin to strive for longevity and success in our relationship, we have to communicate. We have to be willing to embrace that area in order for us to really find out what we truly need in our relationship. You have to become vulnerable. It's simple as that. Just like she said, I want to be closer to you. When you are stating that to your mate or to the one that you are wanting to have in your life, it opens up many doors. It opens up the doors for opportunity for you both to explore and take your relationship to the next level. I love that. All of the information and more can be found on Kathy B, Source Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Source Radio Network. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, you guys know my dynamic host is coming into the studio, and I'm speaking of Dr. D. Yvonne Young, and we're going to continue the conversation a little more in regards to vulnerability. Our conversation will be taking the necessary steps towards success while we embrace vulnerability in our marriages and relationships. You're listening live right here on Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We're going to take a quick break, and on the other side, Dr. Young in the studio with me. We'll be right back.
Source Nation, we'll be right back after the break. You're listening live to Love Zone Mondays with host Kathy B. and Dr. Yvonne Young. This program was brought to you by Blog Talk Radio, Scott Cares Foundation, Cat Photography, Urban Grandstand Digital, Red Pill Lifestyle Management and Consulting, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, and Hitsmasters.
Hey, baby. Hey. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, okay. I can hear you now. Where are you? No. I'm on South Beach. Same place. Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to rush you. You know, I just want to see you before I go in tonight. Chad called me and I got a lot to do at the studio. It's cool. If you're close, I'll go ahead and get you a drink. Okay. Well, I'll see you in a second. I'm going to go ahead and get mine. All right.
Hey, bartender, give me something that's smooth. Hey, bartender, give me something that's smooth. 'Cause when it goes down, I wanna feel it hit my soul like this groove. Oh yeah, yeah. And when it goes down, 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 I wanna feel it hit my soul. So how about the dream?
bartender. Oh, you can start my tab. Hey, bartender. Yeah, you can start my tab. 'Cause when I finish my drink, I'm gonna want another in my hand. Yeah, yeah. And when my baby gets here, she's gonna want a drink in her hands. Yeah. But while we wait, give me what I just asked around and go. You know that's what I like. Hey, bartender, let's rum and go. Oh, you know what I like, yeah. Break it down, break it down, break it down.
Hey, I thought you were gonna be here. Oh, okay, you pulling up, okay. Yeah, just one, only one, huh? Girl, you know I don't drink like that. Everybody knows that.
Give me a round.
That's cool. No, I just talk to you until you get to the door.
That's what I like.
Let's make sure everything okay.
Spice rum.
Nah. Yeah, let me strip this down real quick.
You know what I like.
Okay. I'm gonna meet you at the door. Here I come.
Now I'm to tell you that I love you tonight, but I know that I got time on my side. Where you going? Why you leaving so soon? Is there somewhere else that's better for you? What is love if you're not here with me? What is love if it's not guaranteed? What is love if it's just us and leave? What is love? What is love if you're not really sure? What is love if it's just us and goes?
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Love Zone Mondays with host Kathy B. and Dr. Yvonne Young.
And welcome back, Sports Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about an hour and 47 minutes before we lose the live feed. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. We are now into the second hour of the show, but before we start and I let you guys know who I have in the studio, I want to take a moment to, again, thank Ize and Iana Miat. All of the information and more can be found on Kathy B, Sports Radio Network, as well as our main station page, Sports Radio Network. Well, as I said, we are now into the second hour of the show, and I have my dynamic co-host. That's right, ladies. He is back. Get excited. Dr. D. Yvonne Young is here, and he's going to be with us 2 Mondays out of the month. That's right. So we have them every other week, and we're going to really begin to share with the Sports Nation family and everyone that listens to Love Zone Monday about how we really can strive for success and longevity in our relationship. And tonight's conversation is going to be an extension on vulnerability. We're going to cover the area of taking necessary steps towards success while we embrace vulnerability in our marriages and relationships. So I want to give you just a little bit of information about Dr. Young, and then I'm going to bring him in and he can tell us a little bit more. But Dr. Young is a professional certified coach, master MBTI practitioner, and master certified coach. Now, a certified coach is an expert at helping others create positive change in their lives. Now, for some of his clients, the positive change they most want may be focused on personal goals, such as relationships, time management, work lubrication, health, and etc. The other clients may be more interested in professional or business goals, such as leadership, getting a promotion, starting a business, etc. I do believe that my co-host, my dynamic co-host, is in the studio with me. Dr. Young, how are you? And welcome to Love Zone Monday.
Hi, how are you tonight?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I am excited to have you part of the staff, and of course, Source Nation is excited to have you. Now, you know, I didn't give you bio justice, and I tell you why, because we've had the opportunity to really begin to share you, Dr. Young, with the Source Nation family and everybody that listens to Love Zone Mondays. But if you will, if you could take a moment to share a little bit more, that would be great.
Well, I'll just say this. My job is transforming people's lives, and at the end of the day, what matters most is that I do that well. I'm honored and very glad to be present tonight.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, you know, our conversation tonight is in the area of vulnerability, you know, taking the necessary steps towards success. And here on this platform, Dr. Young, I know that you and I are really going to really begin to share how we can become successful in our relationships. One of the things that I truly believe in, and I have taken notice, is the fact that the African American household, the dynamic of that household, the percentages is high in numbers, meaning that it's not a two-family household. And when you look at it, it really is because we have lacked the area of communication. And I'm also inclined to say that becoming vulnerable, meaning opening yourself up, embracing the area of communication could be one of the dynamics. So I want to talk about what are some of the things that we need to put in place to where not just, as I said, because I know a lot of people are saying, well, she's just speaking about African-American people. No, I'm not. I'm just saying I realize that number is something that I take to heart. But let's talk about some of the steps that we could take toward understanding vulnerability in our relationship.
Well, that's a good platform. The first thing is, how can you be transparent and authentic with someone else until you really know who you are? That begins with you taking time to assess not only what is it that shapes your foundation, but what created that foundation. We miss that opportunity often because we do not dig deep enough into our lineage or into what we are birthed into or birthed from. But it starts there, and once you examine your origin and then take a more in-depth look at what is going on in your life right now, and be honest about it. I mean, if you know that you're in a transformative process and you're just now stopping drinking but you haven't quit yet, or that your credit is jacked up, or you have some collateral unresolved relationship issues with children or with siblings or parents, those are the easy places to peg points of interest. And once you peg those points of interest, then you position yourself to start unmasking the things that typically hinder you down the road.
Love that. I love that. Now, I want to talk about how we can really begin to strengthen that. I had the opportunity to take a look at some articles prior to you coming into the studio, Dr. Young. And one of the articles, and I will share this with the Source Nation, when we speak of information and we're sourcing, I usually put that information out on Facebook. You can follow us live, and you can go back and look at it at your leisure. But this particular article comes from Live, Bold, and Bloom, and it talks about the secret close in the relationships and vulnerability. Now, I want to talk to you about one particular area that I found very interesting, and it stated that vulnerability is an essential ingredient in any intimate relationship. What are your thoughts about that? Is that actually true? And can you be when you look at it in that pretense?
Well, all relationships necessitate one being transparent. When there's a lack of transparency, the thing that's soon to follow that is a lack of trust. When you have a lack of trust, you don't have a relationship. We compromise ourselves for needless reasons because we judge ourselves and we assume that the people with whom we interact are going to judge us in a similar fashion. Being honest, that's not true. Most people applaud the fact that you aren't doing well and you can admit it because that puts you in a position to demonstrate what you're made of. What typically shapes someone's opinion of you isn't how you beat your drum or how you go about and brag about your achievements. What impresses people is how you overcome your struggles.
Yes, I truly believe in that because a lot of people ask me, Kathy, why is it that you always talk about your divorce and it just seems like you're down on the fact that infidelity played a part? And I was like, no. What I'm doing is I'm sharing this with you because somebody out there is taking it to heart. It's difficult for them to face the fact that their relationship has ended and infidelity. I want to share with them how I got over that. Not only it made me stronger and it has prepared me for whatever it is to come in my next relationship. So I truly believe in that. I believe that vulnerability not only opens the area of being authentic, but it opens up the area of you being able to trust the person that you're bringing into your life. You have to begin to trust them. Not saying that it's going to happen overnight, but the time that you spend together and the time that you take to invest in that relationship, trust will then play a part. What are your thoughts?
Well, what you're saying is there's a great deal of truth of it. What we tend to do is look at the precipitants or the symptoms that reveal themselves, such as infidelity or betrayal, things of that nature, when in fact those things are only symptoms. The real root cause that created or fostered the bed for that infidelity or for that betrayal to take place has nothing to do with the fruit that you're looking at. You know, it's the equivalent of us looking at causation versus correlation. An example of this is if you look at the NBA, you say, well, most people in the NBA are what? They're either tall or they're black. But is that what caused them to get into the NBA? Well, no, it wasn't. It was hard work, dedication, commitment, and a gift of physicality. So when we look at the same outcomes, we can't go and infer correlation with causation. So to get to the base of anything, you need to go to its core and not to its extreme.
Love that. I love that. And I want to stay right there because getting to the core of whatever is taking place is for us to do. And I think that you have to be able to be comfortable in that area. So how do we get there, Dr. Young? How can you get to the core of whatever it is that has taken place or whatever it is that's going on and feel comfortable in doing so?
Well, America, it's time to get your pen out right now. I'm going to give you an answer to that question, and it has a dual benefit. This is also the best way to get rid of depression, to get rid of fear, hopelessness, and anxiety, which also are systemic and first cousins to what we're talking about. First, get a pen and paper out. Write down the top 5, and for some of you, 10 things, but don't go any further than 10 because at that point you're not getting anywhere. But I would start with 5, maybe 5 to 7 things that really are wreaking havoc in your life. After you identify what these things are, define what it is that they are affecting. An example of this is if I know that I have a problem with drinking or with drugs, what else is it affecting? Well, naturally it's affecting my income. It's affecting my ability to maintain rapport and relationships with people that are significant in my life. It's also probably affecting my health, etc. So step 1, identify the problem. Step 2, identify what it's affecting. And then step 3, create more than one strategy that's measurable, that you can use to attack that issue. So here's a good example. If I identified that it was affecting me financially, a way that I can measure is, okay, well, the money that I would have spent on that joint, on that box of wine, or on that woman or that man or whatever, I'm going to put that money in a strong box or just keep track of the fact that it didn't come out my account that day. And as you start creating measurable things and things that you can look at and say, okay, you know what, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke for 3 days, I didn't go to the gentleman's club for 3 days, hell, I've got an extra $150 or extra $75 or $50 in my bank account. Well, not only now have you created a tangible way of encouraging yourself to continue doing what is best for you and those you love, but you also have a measurable outcome. And when you can say, well, now I worked out, I went to the gym 3 times this week. Well, if you go to the gym 3 times a week, chances are your muscles toned up a little bit and you probably lost a few pounds. So not only are you nailing the problem, you're controlling the problem, and what used to be a problem has now become an opportunity to improve the quality of your life.
Love that. I love that. And I think that this speaks to the next area of the article where it says vulnerability invites growth. It invites growth in your relationship. You know, it also gives you a time to really begin to reflect in the area of being true and honest with what it is that you desire to have in that relationship. What are your thoughts about that, and how critical is growth regarding vulnerability in our relationship?
Well, being honest, those things are hand in hand in a very unique way. When vulnerability is present, that means that you are being very open and transparent about situations and circumstances that are set before you. The other way that helps you with intimacy is that relationships where people don't grow don't last. And you can see evidence of this in men and women, a good example, you'll hear women say, well, I stuck by him when he went to law school. Well, sister, while you were waiting on him to get out of law or med school, you should have taken your own butt back to school. Now what's happened is there's an intellectual gap between you and this significant other of yours, and that creates tension. Another thing that you can look at is by having common goals, that helps both people to track their own growth and their own beliefs and their own values. And when you have that happen on both sides of the table, that creates another word called balance. When relationships become imbalanced, they fail.
Yeah, they do. They do. And I love the fact that you talked about the growth and then you mentioned imbalance, because I also believe, just as the article stated, when you have tapped into vulnerability and you understand that within your relationship, it also builds confidence within the relationship. Talk to us about that. What's your thoughts about that? Expressing your feelings and revealing your flaws, becoming confident.
Well, confidence is connected to one's self-worth, and to be self-actualized, you have to become confident. There was a theorist named Abraham Maslow who created a hierarchy of needs. At the bottom of that needs was satiable stuff. You had to eat, you had to urinate and defecate, and you had to sleep. Then the next level up is you needed to feel some sense of safety, meaning that you had to know that something, or including your environment, was secure and sound. After you get to this next level is that you need to belong to something. And when you start looking at belongingness needs, that again comes back into validation. But you cannot belong to someone or something else until you first have full possession of yourself. Now, with that stated, you cannot have possession of yourself if a drug, a substance, a set of circumstances, or a person has possession of you.
Now, in the article, it basically said revealing your feelings, expressing your feelings, and revealing your flaws, and admitting your fears. How important is that within the relationship?
It's very important. People have this foolish belief system that they should look like what they see on TV. They should look like what they see in a movie or in a magazine. Well, in fact, that is good for you to raise the bar, so to speak, for you to look at something and say, you know what, I should aspire to do better. But it's not realistic for you to want to live the life of someone else. You need to live your own doggone life. And in doing so, this comes into that validation system of transparency again, as well as validating one's worth. You validate your worth and by what you accomplish on a daily basis. I suggest that you set goals that are within reach. Don't, if you know you're a woman and you're weighing 250 wearing a size 18, don't set a goal to be in a size 6 by the summer. That's not realistic. And even if you do have surgery, a gastric bypass or something like that, you're going to look like a doggone Shar-Pei. You know, that's that dog with all that extra skin. And so you don't want to do that. What is more reasonable is to say, you know what, yeah, I do weigh 250, I do weigh 300, but this month my goal is to try to lose 10 pounds and make it to the gym and walk a couple of miles every other day. And as you undertake goals that are reasonable, that are specific, that are measurable, and realistic, you will not only improve the quality of your relationship with other people, but what matters most is you will improve the relationship with yourself.
Love that. I love that. And I think that is very important when you just stated, you know, improving your relationship with self goes into the next area of the article where it says vulnerability heals wounds. I really believe that in your relationship, you know, it's okay to discuss the past, but not discuss it all the time. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, my thoughts again go back into it's really not about the other person. Everything in your life boils down to the man or the woman in the mirror. Our needed deliverable, or the most significant needed deliverable, is to start being authentic and identifying with you and saying, you know what, I know this is what's wrong with me, and all of us know that. We can pretend in front of other folks that we don't know we have a problem. You know damn well your credit ain't good. You know doggone well you haven't spent quality time with your kids. You know your behind is overweight and out of shape. You know that you needed to go back and finish getting your GED, that certification program, that license, whatever. But you do know what areas of your life have gaps in them. And only one person can fill those gaps, and that's you.
That's true. That's true. You know, in my last conversation, we talked about just being real. Keep it 100, as they say. You know, being authentic and not being, in doing so, I think that creates a bond in a relationship. It gives you the opportunity. Go ahead.
Not cutting you off. I apologize for interrupting you, but I just have to say this. Sometimes people are so focused on being in a relationship with someone else, but let's break the word down. Relate means to do one of two things. In the noun, it's a vessel that you house things in to transport. And the verb, it's moving something from one point to another, right? When you look, when you put all that together, ask yourself, what's going on inside of me? What is housed in me? Another thing is, what am I doing with it? And then, where am I taking it? Where am I expecting this to take me? The problem with a lot of people is that they want to meet someone else that has their stuff together, and then you live vicariously through this other person. Let me tell you, that does not work, and people then become resentful because they're looking at you like, why in the hell am I with this fool? You know, you just moved in with this man, this woman. They have an 800 credit score. Your score is that divided by 2. You know, you get with this person and you want to go to Neiman Marcus, but you don't have a credit card to go to Walmart. How are you going to Neiman's if you don't have the ability to shop at Walmart? You sure the hell can't shop at Neiman's. You know, so you have to really take a good inventory of what is it that I have to work with. And until I get me together, I really don't need to involve someone else in my mess.
And I like that. And I like that you said that because I want to stay right there for a second because we often put ourselves in that position where we can't even ask those questions. It's not effective if you can't ask those questions. So I want to talk a little bit more. Why is that important? Because you said some great things right there, but for those that are tuning in right now, talk to them about that. Why is that important? Why should we be like that?
Well, a couple of reasons. You are going to have people hating you and being very, very pissed, just for a better phrase, at you because you have BS'd your way into their lives. And matter of fact, I had a woman call me not too long ago as a client, and she said, Dr. Young, I married this guy, and when I met him, he told me that he had this house, that he had a car, that he had this, and this. And she said, now I have moved this fool from where, from the city he was in to where I am. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have a job. He doesn't have the degree. And I got this grown A man in my house that I'm taking care of that doesn't have anything to offer me. And now I have moved this man in here, and I already had 3 kids, and then she had a baby. She just delivered a baby. And I said, well, number one, why in the hell did you get pregnant? That was stupid. But what was even worse is that the guy had his facade so in order that he literally deceived her into a relationship. But here's the truth. As much as we want to blame him, the truth starts way before that. Both of them were deceiving each other. He was lying to himself about who he was on a daily basis. And she was lying to herself because she made fantasy her reality. Both parties, male and female, need to do a deep self-examination and ask, where am I? Why am I here? And what is my purpose for wanting to move there, wherever your there is. But if you don't answer those 3 things, you probably can't answer the 4th thing, and that's going to be what the hell just happened.
Love that. Source Nation, we are speaking with Dr. D.E. Barnes Young tonight. Tonight's conversation is all about vulnerability. Dr. Young, I have some questions that have come into the studio, and I want to go ahead and get to those if I may. The first question is from my Facebook family, and it reads, from what I've seen and experienced, it appears that black males have an issue with being vulnerable. Why is that?
That's not a black thing, first of all. That's just males. And in Western culture, we see this in infancy. When a little boy falls down, people look at him and say, get up. What the hell are you crying about? That is if they have a man in their lives. Now we're creating a lot of effeminate gay men because there are no male role models there. But in a normal environment where you have a man present in a boy's life, that's what happens. And then here's the opposite extreme to that. Is, let's say no man is present, and this woman is stuck with a baby boy, and it's her and her parents raising this boy, and let's say grandmother's divorced. Now you got these two women pouring into this kid, and what do? They become indulgent, permissive parents. Whatever he says is okay. He talks back. They don't spank him. They put him in timeout, meaning they don't ever give him any serious accountability for anything. Now you wonder why you have this emotionally unavailable man. So the lesson in this is that examine someone's origin. Talk to them about their upbringing. If their parents are living, meet their parents and see how they interact with their own family. And if the parents, like in my case, my parents are deceased, just start asking questions about, well, how were you raised? Did you ever get in trouble? Did you get spankings? Because all of those things are giving you little hints and clues or breadcrumbs into the trail of somebody's existence.
Good info. I like that. We have another question that, it reads as a statement. A young man just sent in this. He says, there's no reason to be vulnerable when you know that you're going to be judged or ridiculed. So just keep all your information to self. What are your thoughts about that?
That's some BS. The truth of it is this. Well, it is. It's BS. That's a brother that's been through some stuff and hurt. And I'm not minimizing this man's pain or his hurt, but I'm going to say this. If people can't love you at your worst, they don't deserve you at your best, right? So take time to just be truthful with people. Don't go and let a tainted experience with some groupie or somebody that didn't realize theirs stinks too, you know what theirs is, get in your life and point a finger at you without them looking at themselves. I'll give you a good example of this. I was looking at Housewives of Atlanta this week, and I noticed when the woman Portia that's on TMZ with Ricky was on there, this guy walks out, he hears her sticking her nose in somebody else's business. And then all of a sudden he checks her and she has the gall to be offended. Well, that's how most people are. Most people are so busy pointing their finger out that they don't see they have three fingers and a thumb pointing back at them. Don't cast your pearls before swine when it comes to dealing with people.
I believe in that. Thank you for that comment. I want to go back to the article, if I may, in regards to vulnerability. And it states that when you are vulnerable and when you're able to express your deepest feelings for another person, the love in the relationship and for the person that you are involved with. What are your thoughts about that? Vulnerability, deepest love.
I believe that there's truth in it, facts in that, but there's very little truth. Remember this, people get acquitted all day from a murder sentence because of facts, but the greater truth is, time and karma is going to catch you no matter what the court lets you get away with, right? And the same thing is true about relationships. Don't let the facts fool you. The greater truth is this. You can be vulnerable 1 minute, but that's not going to make your relationship last. What's going to make a relationship last is that both people are in it for the same reasons, and that you came into this relationship declaring exactly who you are, where you are, and why you're there. Moreover, having equal respect for the person that you've onboarded with. And then the last thing is something the old people would say, be equally yoked. You cannot be a chicken and hang out with eagles. Sooner or later, one of the two is going to have to tell the other one, I'm sorry, but I can't do what you do. So make sure that prior to getting into anything with someone else, that you have paired yourself properly.
I love that. That is so true, and I definitely believe in that. Now, Dr. Young, if you don't mind, I want to talk about what you're finding in the area of vulnerability, some of the things that we may be lacking in our relationships that you feel we should take notice. So what are you sharing with your clients, or maybe some of the sessions that you're doing out on the road when it comes to vulnerability?
The truth is, most people are living in a delusion. They are not living in reality. Seldom have people prepared themselves to handle the vicissitudes of life, let alone the realities of bringing your stuff and parking it next to someone else's stuff. So let me give you an example. Pretend we're going on a cruise. You get to the cruise, and they say, well, you can only bring 2 bags. So you go, well, I only have 2 bags. And they say, well, you've been carrying around a basket with 6 bags in it. Well, that's my mama's stuff, that's my